Hello there, my friend. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been peacefully asleep, only to be suddenly woken in the middle of the night by a sharp, twisting pain in your leg? A cramp that grabs hold of your calf or foot and just won't let go. If you're nodding right now, you're definitely not alone. In fact, I can't even count how many times over the years one of my patients has leaned in, lowered their voice just a little, and asked, "Doc, what do I do about these awful leg cramps at night?" And I get it, I really do. After more than 2 decades working closely with older adults, folks just like you, I've come to understand something deeper than any textbook or medical journal ever taught me. These little annoyances that show up in our day-to-day lives, they're not so little. They take a toll on your peace of mind, your confidence, your ability to rest and recharge. And leg cramps, well, they're one of those sneaky, stubborn things that can turn a calm night into a painful puzzle. Now you might be thinking, it's probably just part of getting older, right? Or maybe I didn't drink enough water today. And those thoughts aren't wrong exactly, but they're not the full picture either. You see, most people chalk muscle cramps up to dehydration or old age. And while those can play a part, in my experience, the real story is often a bit more layered. Sometimes it's what we don't eat that matters just as much as what we do. Our muscles are like finely tuned instruments. They need certain nutrients to stay in rhythm, minerals like magnesium, potassium, and calcium. Without them, even a simple stretch in bed can lead to a painful spasm. I still remember one of my earliest patients when I first started my private practice. Her name was Mary, a retired piano teacher in her early 70s. She came in with the usual concerns: blood pressure, fatigue, a little arthritis. But at the end of every appointment, she would mention the same thing. "My legs, they just lock up at night. It's like they have a mind of their own." For months, she tried over-the-counter remedies, drank more water, even stretched before bed. Nothing really helped. Until one day, during a casual conversation about her meals, I asked her what she ate for dinner. Turns out, Mary had been on a low-carb, low-salt diet for years, following some advice from a book she'd read. No bananas, no avocados, no sweet potatoes. Practically no potassium to speak of. Once we adjusted her meals, just small changes, nothing extreme, her nighttime cramps practically disappeared within a couple of weeks. That's when it really hit me. Food isn't just fuel, it's medicine. Real, natural medicine, especially for us as we age. The body changes, the needs shift, and sometimes the habits we've had for decades may no longer serve us the way they used to. That's why I started this channel, Senior Superfoods TV, to have real conversations, heart to heart, about how the foods we choose every day can shape the quality of our life. Not through trends, not through gimmicks, and certainly not through fear, but through kindness, wisdom, and balance. Today, we're talking about something that might seem small but affects millions: muscle cramps, especially in the legs. They show up at the worst times, rob us of sleep, and leave us sore and frustrated. But here's the good news. There are things you can do. Natural things. Simple, accessible, time-tested strategies that don't involve another bottle of pills or a trip to the ER. We'll take a closer look at some of the most common myths around muscle cramps. For instance, many people believe that just drinking water is enough. But the truth is, water alone doesn't always solve the problem. Our muscles need electrolytes, minerals like potassium and magnesium, to function smoothly. If you're drinking lots of water but flushing out the minerals your body needs, you might actually be making the problem worse without realizing it. And then there's the myth that stretching alone can prevent cramps. Stretching is helpful, of course, especially gentle evening stretches tailored for older adults. But if your diet is missing key nutrients, or if certain medications are depleting your body's reserves, no amount of stretching will fix the underlying issue. In today's video, I want to walk with you, not talk at you, and share what I've learned from years of sitting across the table from people who just want to sleep better, walk easier, and feel good in their own skin again. We'll talk about some foods that can truly nourish your muscles, things you can find at any grocery store, nothing fancy or expensive. I'll explain how they work, when to eat them, and even how to prepare them if your hands aren't as steady as they used to be. We'll also touch on some gentle daily habits that can make a big difference, like evening foot soaks, magnesium-rich snacks before bedtime, and the often overlooked importance of staying consistently hydrated throughout the day, not just when you're thirsty. You know, a lot of the health advice out there today is either way too technical or way too simplified. What we need, especially in this season of life, is advice we can trust. Guidance that respects our wisdom, honors our experience, and meets us where we are. That's what I aim to give you. So if you've been struggling with leg cramps, or if you've just accepted them as one of those things, I gently urge you to stay with me. Give me just a few minutes of your time, and I'll give you the tools, the insights, and hopefully the encouragement you need to feel a little stronger and more in control of your body again. Because you deserve that. Truly. And if you're someone who's caring for an older parent or loved one, this information will help you too. You might notice them wincing when they get up from bed, rubbing their calves during the day, or even hesitating to walk for fear of another cramp. This is your chance to give them a bit of comfort and confidence again, just through a little knowledge and some thoughtful choices. Now, before we jump into the science and the food side of things, let me ask you, when was the last time you thought about what your muscles really need to stay happy? Not just strong or toned, but comfortable, pain-free, and relaxed. That's what we're aiming for today. So go ahead, grab a warm drink, settle into your favorite chair, and let's explore this together. You're not in this alone, and sometimes just one good tip, one new habit, one small shift in your day can change so much more than you ever expected. Let's begin. Now that we're settled in and you know why we're here today, let's start by taking a closer look at the problem itself. Those unexpected, sometimes downright miserable muscle cramps, especially in the legs. Because understanding the why is just as important as knowing the what to do. Let me begin by telling you a little story. Several years ago, I had a lovely couple in my practice, George and Evelyn, married over 50 years. George was a retired postman, the kind of man who had walked more miles in his life than most of us could dream of. But now in his late 70s, he was having trouble sleeping, not from worry or stress, but from cramps. Night after night, just as he'd start drifting off, his calves would tighten like coiled ropes. Sometimes the pain was so sharp it would bring tears to his eyes. When they first came in, they had done what many folks do. They Googled it. They'd read that dehydration might be the issue, so George started drinking water like it was going out of style. But the cramps didn't stop. Then they tried supplements, magnesium, calcium, even quinine, though I quickly advised against that one for safety reasons. Still, those spasms came back like clockwork. As we talked more, I realized something both important and surprisingly common. George, like so many others, had fallen into the trap of oversimplified advice. And I don't blame him. When you're in pain, you reach for the first answer you find. But the body doesn't work in isolation. It's a beautiful, interconnected system, and cramps are rarely caused by just one thing. So let's unpack this piece by piece, the myth of just drink more water. This is probably the most common piece of advice I hear people pass around when it comes to cramps. And yes, hydration does matter. Our muscles need fluid to contract and relax smoothly. But water alone is not the full solution. Especially if your body is lacking the minerals, it needs to retain that water and use it properly. Have you ever heard of the term electrolyte balance? It's something athletes and younger folks talk about a lot, but it's just as important, if not more so, for older adults. When you sweat, take certain medications, like diuretics or blood pressure pills, or even eat a very low-sodium diet, your body can lose essential minerals. And without enough sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, your muscles can misfire, spasm, or lock up unexpectedly. In fact, overhydrating without restoring electrolytes can sometimes worsen cramps, especially if it leads to what we call hyponatremia, too little sodium in the blood. That's why blindly chugging water isn't always the answer. It has to be smart hydration, paired with the right nutrients. The overlooked role of medications. Another common trigger I see in older adults, medications. You'd be amazed how many of the prescriptions I review with my patients list muscle cramps or electrolyte imbalance as a possible side effect. Diuretics, often prescribed for high blood pressure or heart failure, are a big culprit. They help your body get rid of excess fluid, but they also wash away minerals like potassium and magnesium in the process. Statins, commonly used for cholesterol, have also been known to cause muscle discomfort and cramping in some people. One woman I worked with, Joan, had been dealing with worsening leg cramps for over a year. We tried dietary changes, gentle stretches, even warm compresses. Nothing seemed to work. It wasn't until we carefully reviewed her medication list that we noticed a new prescription had been added around the same time the cramps began. With her doctor's help, she switched to an alternative, and within 2 weeks, her cramps had almost entirely disappeared. Now, let me be clear. I would never recommend stopping or changing any medication without consulting your doctor. But if cramps are a regular issue for you, it's worth asking whether your medications might be contributing. It's a conversation that could change your daily comfort. Aging muscles have different needs. As we get older, our muscles change. It's just a fact of life. We lose muscle mass, something called sarcopenia, which means the muscles we do have need more support. They become more sensitive to imbalances and less forgiving of long periods without movement or nutrition. This is especially true at night. When we're at rest, blood flow slows down a bit, and if the muscles aren't getting the right signals, nutritional or neurological, they can cramp up. This is one reason why so many older adults experience leg cramps while sleeping. And here's something I always tell my patients. If you're over 60, your body's response to things like hydration, food, and even mild activity isn't going to be the same as it was at 30 or 40. That's not a bad thing, it just means we have to be a little more intentional, a little more attentive. Common nutrient gaps in older adults. You might be surprised to know just how common nutrient deficiencies are in older adults, even in those who eat relatively well. Several studies have shown that many seniors aren't getting enough. Magnesium, found in leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Potassium, abundant in bananas, sweet potatoes, avocados, and beans. Calcium, not just from milk, but also dark leafy vegetables and fortified foods. Vitamin D, essential for muscle function and often deficient due to less sun exposure. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to start popping pills for every vitamin under the sun. In fact, I often recommend food-first approaches. Why? Because nutrients in food are absorbed more effectively, and they come packaged with fiber, antioxidants, and other goodies your body appreciates. It's not just what you eat, it's when and how. Timing matters too. A banana eaten in the morning might not help with cramps that wake you up at 3 a.m. That's why for many of my patients, I recommend a small snack rich in magnesium or potassium about an hour before bed. A handful of almonds, a slice of avocado toast on whole grain bread, or even a little yogurt with chia seeds can make a surprising difference. And let's not forget digestion. As we age, our stomachs produce less acid, which can interfere with the absorption of key minerals. If you're eating well but still experiencing cramps, we may need to look at how your body is processing those foods. Misdiagnosing the root cause. I've also seen many cases where what seems like a cramp is actually something else. Poor circulation, pinched nerves, or even early signs of peripheral artery disease, PAD. That's why if you have frequent, severe, or unexplained cramps, it's important to rule out other causes with your healthcare provider. Don't just write it off as just old age. That said, in the vast majority of cases I've seen, cramps are caused by lifestyle and diet factors we can influence. Final thought for this section: it's not your fault. Before we wrap up this first part, let me say something clearly. If you've been dealing with cramps or if you feel frustrated that nothing seems to help, it's not your fault. You're doing the best you can with the information you've been given. But the good news is, you're here now, you're learning. And I want to thank you for sticking with me this far. If you're still here, it means you're not just interested in quick fixes. You want to understand your body better, and you're looking for sustainable ways to live more comfortably. That, to me, is the mark of someone wise. Someone who has lived long enough to know that health isn't just about taking a pill or watching a 5-minute video. It's about listening, learning, and adjusting as life unfolds. In this section, I'd like to share what I've personally seen over more than 2 decades of working with seniors. These aren't theories from textbooks or flashy trends from the internet. These are quiet truths I've gathered from real conversations, late-night phone calls with patients, and countless cups of tea shared with folks who just wanted to feel a little better. Let's begin with a story that has always stayed with me: the farmer and the fig tree. About 15 years ago, I met a man named Walter. He was in his early 80s, wiry and strong, the kind of man whose hands told the story of a lifetime of labor. He had worked the land all his life, a small fig orchard on the edge of town, passed down from his father. Walter came to see me not because he didn't know how to take care of himself, but because his legs were betraying him. "I feel like my muscles don't belong to me anymore," he said, They jerk and jump in the middle of the night like they're dancing without music. What made Walter's case interesting was how healthy he looked on paper. His labs were good, his heart was strong, and he ate a diet most nutritionists would praise. But what we eventually discovered was that his routine, while disciplined, lacked variety. He ate the same breakfast every day, had a modest lunch, and a small dinner, often skipping snacks. He avoided salt almost entirely, fearful of blood pressure, and rarely drank anything but water. Now, to some, that sounds ideal. But for Walter, the lack of electrolyte diversity, minimal magnesium intake, and long fasting periods between meals were triggering nighttime cramps. Once we added in a handful of pumpkin seeds in the afternoon and a little warm milk with turmeric at night, along with a small pinch of sea salt in his cooking, his cramps began to fade. The lesson here isn't just about food. It's about paying attention to what our body is asking for and realizing that even a healthy routine can be too rigid if it doesn't meet your unique needs. What the patterns reveal. Over the years, I began noticing clear patterns among my senior patients with recurring muscle cramps. While each story was unique, certain themes came up again and again. People often undereat, especially when they live alone. Many of my patients simply weren't getting enough calories or nutrients throughout the day. Appetite can decline with age, especially after the loss of a spouse or during periods of loneliness. But muscles need fuel, not just protein, to function and recover properly. Skipping meals, even unintentionally, can deprive muscles of their needed energy stores. Stretching is rarely part of the routine. We stretch when we're young, especially if we're active. But as we age, the stretches disappear, even though the stiffness increases. I've found that seniors who take 5 minutes before bed to stretch their calves, hamstrings, and feet report significantly fewer leg cramps. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just a simple stretch against the wall or gentle ankle rolls in bed can do wonders. Nighttime cramps are often a daytime problem. This one is key. Cramps that show up in the middle of the night are often the result of what we didn't do during the day. Whether that's forgetting to drink fluids, sitting too long in one position, or not eating enough of the right foods. In other words, nighttime is when your muscles report back on how the day went. Magnesium works, but only when it's the right kind. There's a lot of talk online about magnesium, and with good reason. It's one of the most common deficiencies I see, but not all forms are equal. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest form, is poorly absorbed. I've seen better results with magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate, especially in those with sensitive stomachs. But even better than pills, leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, and even a square of dark chocolate after dinner. Delicious, natural, and effective. What I do personally, my own evening routine. You might be wondering, so what do you do, doctor? Well, I'll tell you. I may not be in my 70s yet, but I've had my fair share of muscle tightness, especially after long workdays or travel. Here's what I've found works for me and many of my older patients. Around 8 p.m. I'll have a small snack rich in magnesium or potassium. Sometimes it's a banana with a spoonful of almond butter. Other times, it's a slice of whole grain toast with avocado. If I'm feeling indulgent, a little warm cocoa made with dark chocolate and oat milk. Before getting into bed, I do a brief 3-minute stretch. I roll out my ankles, point and flex my toes, and lean against the wall to stretch my calves. I keep a small lavender sachet near my pillow, not for cramps, but to help ease me into rest. Good sleep is part of the healing process. Lastly, I place a rolled towel under my knees when lying on my back. It gently relieves tension from my hamstrings and lower back, helping everything stay aligned. Now, I'm not saying this is a one-size-fits-all solution, but routines like this, mindful, nourishing, and calming, can have a powerful ripple effect. The emotional side of chronic cramps. Let me pause here and say something I don't think we say often enough. Chronic discomfort is emotionally draining. Many of my patients who suffer from leg cramps aren't just in pain, they're frustrated. They feel betrayed by their bodies, embarrassed to talk about it, and often exhausted from nights of interrupted sleep. One woman, Ruth, once told me, "I don't mind getting old, but I mind feeling powerless." That stayed with me, because behind every cramp is a person trying to make sense of what's happening to them. So if that's you, if you've ever felt that your body is misfiring or acting out without reason, I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not doing anything wrong. Your body is simply asking for something, and together we can figure out what that is. The role of gentle movement. I can't stress this enough. Movement is medicine, not punishment. Not exercise in the way we used to think of it. Just gentle, loving movement. One of the best tools I've found for seniors is a simple seated stretch routine, something you can do while watching TV or listening to music. Rolling your ankles, lifting your heels, pointing and flexing your toes, circling your wrists. All of this improves circulation and helps reduce the nerve overexcitability that often leads to cramping. A retired teacher I worked with, named Mr. Hartley, began doing 5 minutes of leg movements every commercial break while watching his favorite baseball games. After a month, his cramps were down by half. It wasn't a miracle, it was consistency. That's the real secret, friends, not intensity, not suffering, but steady daily choices that build a foundation of wellness. The joy of rediscovering old remedies. Sometimes, the best solutions are the ones our grandparents already knew. I remember my grandmother keeping a small glass of tonic water beside her bed. Back then, no one called it a remedy. It was just something that helped. Modern research has questioned the use of quinine, and for good reason. There are safety concerns. But the idea of using food and natural aids for relief has never gone out of style. Mustard, for instance, has been used by some to relieve cramps quickly. The acetic acid in mustard is thought to trigger neural receptors that help muscles relax. I've had patients swear by it. One even kept mustard packets in her purse, just in case. Then there's pickle juice. Sounds odd, doesn't it? But I've met dozens of people who have had... Now that we've talked about the underlying causes and my own experience working with real people, let's shift our attention to what matters most. What can you actually do about it? If you've ever been woken up in the middle of the night by a stabbing pain in your calf or felt a cramp take over your foot while standing at the kitchen sink, you know how disruptive, and frankly, frightening, it can be. The good news is you don't have to just accept it. There are practical, natural ways to manage, reduce, and even prevent these cramps from happening. And best of all, these methods aren't complicated. They don't require fancy equipment or expensive supplements. Most of them are things you can do right in your home starting today. Herb 1. The nutrient game, what your muscles are really asking for. Let's begin with the most important players in muscle health. Potassium, magnesium, calcium, and sodium. Yes, even sodium in moderation. As we age, our body doesn't absorb or retain minerals as efficiently as it once did. Add to that common medications like diuretics or blood pressure pills, and we often end up depleted without even realizing it. Let me walk you through how to gently restore these minerals with real food. Banana potassium. The gentle giant. Potassium helps muscles contract and relax properly. Without enough, your muscles might misfire or tighten painfully. Some potassium-rich foods that are easy on digestion and senior-friendly. Bananas, simple, soft, and portable. Have one mid-morning or blend into a smoothie. Sweet potatoes, baked or mashed, rich in both potassium and fiber. Avocados, spread on toast or mix with boiled eggs for a creamy snack. Coconut water, a hydrating alternative to sugary sports drinks. Just make sure it's low sugar or no added sugar. White beans, blend into a soup or add to stews. They're also high in magnesium. Pushpin my tip. One small banana and half an avocado at breakfast can give your muscles a great start to the day. Herb magnesium, the soothing mineral. This is the mineral I call the relaxer. It calms nerves, helps with sleep, and yes, prevents cramps. Magnesium-rich foods ideal for seniors include pumpkin seeds. Just a tablespoon a day can go a long way. Spinach, lightly sautéed with olive oil and garlic. Almonds, a few in the afternoon as a snack or finely ground into oatmeal. Dark chocolate, 70% or higher. 1 or 2 small squares after dinner. Oats, great for breakfast or even as an evening snack with warm milk. Memo personal insight. I had a client, Mrs. Linda, who swore by a nightly ritual. A warm mug of unsweetened cocoa mixed with oat milk and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Her cramps, which had once kept her awake 5 nights a week, were nearly gone after 1 month. Glass of milk calcium, not just for bones. Calcium also helps regulate muscle contractions, but here's the kicker. Without enough vitamin D, your body won't absorb it properly. Simple calcium sources, plain Greek yogurt, high in protein too. Canned sardines with bones, a powerhouse if you're willing to try them. Broccoli, steam it gently to avoid bitterness. Tofu, calcium set. A great option for those who don't do dairy. Pushpin fair use insight. While many health videos mention magnesium and potassium, few emphasize how pairing them with small routines like nighttime snacks or gentle stretches boosts their effect. That's what I've learned over the years. It's not just what you eat, but when and how. Salt, don't fear salt, respect it. I often see seniors cutting back on salt dramatically out of concern for blood pressure. And yes, too much salt is dangerous, but too little can also cause cramps. Our nerves and muscles need sodium to send signals. Backhand index pointing, write a small pinch of sea salt added to your soup, or a light sprinkle on steamed vegetables is usually safe unless your doctor says otherwise. Green salad 2, gentle meal planning for muscle relief. Let's make it even more practical. Here's what a sample cramp-fighting day might look like. Breakfast, oatmeal cooked with oat milk. Add chia seeds, sliced banana, and a drizzle of almond butter. Herbal tea or warm water with lemon. Mid-morning snack, handful of pumpkin seeds or a small boiled. Coconut water for 6 hours. Lunch, grilled chicken or salmon. Steamed spinach and sweet potatoes. A glass of water with a lemon slice. Afternoon snack, Greek yogurt with a few berries and sunflower seeds. Dinner, stir-fried tofu or beans with broccoli and quinoa. Herbal tea with a small square of dark chocolate. Evening ritual, warm milk or a plant-based alternative with turmeric and cinnamon. Calf stretches before bed, more on this below. Person in lotus position 3, stretching and movement, a 5-minute routine that makes a difference. As promised, here's a gentle stretch routine that I teach many of my senior clients. You can do this before bed or after waking up. Seated toe flexes, sit on the edge of your bed. Flex and point your toes slowly 10 times. Calf stretch against wall, stand facing a wall. Step 1 foot back and gently press your heel down. Hold for 20 seconds each side. Ankle rolls, while seated or lying down, roll each ankle in slow circles, 10 times each direction. Hamstring seated stretch, sit in a sturdy chair, extend one leg straight and lean forward gently. Hold 15-20 seconds per leg. Gentle massage, use your hands or a soft roller to massage your calves and thighs. Focus on sore or tight areas. Memo, remember, this isn't exercise. It's a message to your body, I'm listening to you. I want you to feel safe and supported. Droplet 4, hydration. The unsung hero of muscle health. I can't tell you how many times cramps are simply the result of dehydration. As we age, our thirst signals become less reliable. Just because you're not thirsty doesn't mean your body isn't dry. Here are some hydration tips that are doable and senior-friendly. Start the day with a small glass of water, even before coffee. Sip herbal teas throughout the day, ginger, chamomile, lemon balm. Add flavor to water. Cucumber slices, mint, a splash of unsweetened cranberry juice. Keep a dedicated glass or mug by your favorite chair or at your bedside. Coconut water or an electrolyte drink once a day if you're active or it's hot outside. Pushpin important. Avoid sugary sports drinks or energy beverages. They often do more harm than good. Lotion bottle 5. Emergency cramps, quick home remedies that actually work. Sometimes, no matter how careful we are, a cramp sneaks up on us. Here's what to do. Mustard trick. Swallow 1 teaspoon of yellow mustard. The acetic acid helps with nerve signal resetting. Pickle juice. Take a 1-ounce shot. It works faster than water in many cases. Soap under the sheets, strange as it sounds, some people swear by placing a bar of soap, not wrapped under the bedsheet near their legs. The theory is unproven but harmless, and I've seen it work. Warm compress or heating pad, apply to the area for 5-10 minutes to relax the muscle. Cold compress, helps numb the area and reduce inflammation after the cramp subsides. Magnesium oil spray, rubbed directly on the calf. Conclusion, you deserve to feel at ease in your own body. If you've made it with me to the end of this video, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to care for yourself. Thank you for being open to learning something new, whether this is your first video on muscle health or your 50th. What we've talked about today isn't magic. It's not a miracle cure. It's something much more real than that. A quiet, consistent promise to your body that you are listening, that you are choosing to live in a way that honors what your body truly needs. And those needs, my friend, are simple, but they're powerful. A bit more water. A little stretch in the morning. A banana instead of a bag of chips. A warm mug of magnesium-rich cocoa before bed. None of this needs to happen all at once. Start small. Start gentle. Even one little change, done with care, can begin to shift the tide. You see, I've spent more than 2 decades sitting with people just like you. People who were told their pain was just part of aging. People who were handed bottles of pills but never a listening ear. And I'll tell you something that may surprise you. The biggest healing doesn't always come from something fancy. It often begins with understanding and then a cup of warm water. So if your legs have been aching, your nights have been restless, or you've been afraid to stand too long for fear of that next cramp, I hope today's video helped you feel seen. I hope it gave you something practical you can try. And more than anything, I hope it reminded you that you're not alone. This journey toward better health, it's not about perfection. It's not about getting back to who you used to be. It's about creating a daily rhythm that supports the beautiful, capable person you are right now. Let's keep this conversation going. If this video spoke to you, I'd love to invite you to become part of our growing community here on Senior Superfoods TV. We're not just about recipes or facts. We're about making health feel human again. Every week, I share gentle, practical tips on natural foods that support aging bodies, daily routines that ease stiffness, pain, and fatigue, real-life stories from other seniors finding their way to better health, and encouragement, always encouragement. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Click the bell icon too, so you'll know when a new video is ready, because I don't want you to miss a thing that could make your life just a little easier, a little brighter. And if there was something in today's video that helped you, or something you've been doing that's worked for your leg cramps, please drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. You never know whose life your story might touch. Speech balloon before we say goodbye. Let me leave you with a thought I often share with my patients. We don't have to fix everything today, but we can choose one thing, one gentle thing, to do with love and intention. And that over time is what transforms health. Whether that one thing is eating more potassium-rich foods, adding a stretch to your bedtime ritual, or simply pouring yourself a glass of water, I hope today helped you feel just a little more empowered. Your body is still listening, and it's never too late to begin treating it with the kindness it deserves. From my heart to yours.